Okay, so we're gonna do a full moon reading. I've been trying to figure out how to do this with the astrology signs. There's fucking 12 of them, and it takes like an hour and 20 minutes to do the readings for all of them. Not very many people look at all of them, so I'm like looking at time and how much is worth it, and spamming people's freaking channel feeds with 12 readings. So, what I'm going to do, we're looking at the full moon, and what I'm going to do is a reading for the four elements, right? So, I'm going to do one for fire, one for water, air, and earth. And, you know, the, if you're an astrology person, you know how much of each of these is in your chart, and you can kind of weigh them all against each other and figure out what the hell's going on. So we're going to start with fire because Leo is a fire sign and Leos are the coolest. So fire goes first. Full moon. Fire. Radiant waste 93. Those are my words. All right. Fire, what do we got for the full moon? Oh my god, it's the 5 of cups. And our friend the devil. All right. So this is the emotional breakdown, communication breakdown. This is when emotional energies have been too close for too long and they're stagnant. So these need a little bit of time apart. So that's kind of a foundation for the devil. And the devil is showing this very powerful obsessive force that is rising. Now, the energy is moving a little bit backwards because the devil is looking this way. So let's just see what the back is turned to. And let's see what the focus is on. Well, there's good news in here. Now, the devil is a very powerful obsessive force, but here, I mean, it's surrounded by very similar energy either way. So the back is to the Two of Cups, and the Two of Cups is basically what's happening right now. All of the potential emotional satisfaction that is there for you wherever you are right the fuck now. And it isn't about far away or anything like that. So, with this is the old married couple, this is the first date, right? So, the back is to the first date type energy. And if we're talking about relationships here, and if you are in this long-term relationship that is kind of broken down, the Two of Cups is saying, like, you could kind of be like two new people to each other in this moment. Like, the two of you being together right now could be like a first date. But the devil is shifting energy away from that. Now, what it's shifting toward is the Empress, and this is just more long term energy. This is like long term growth. This is creation. The Empress is the fertile womb. So this is saying like it's desperately trying to get pregnant. It's desperately trying to create and give birth to something that will last longer. Now, I don't think that's a bad thing. Um, but at some point, you probably could just sort of relax and see what is around you. Now, we're just going to pull like a higher purpose card or coming out of that. And the Nine of Cups, the way that I would read this is just there are many, many options available. Um, the Nine of Cups, it's about confusion because there are so many paths present. But the Nine of Cups is saying, like, don't feel like you don't have options because you definitely do. And the key is just to take one of them. But I think this focus on this long term growth is okay. Um, but if you're, I mean, like in my specific case, like I'm about to move to a different place. And the Nine of Cups would say that I'm kind of obsessed with trying to start a life in one specific place. And the 9 would say that there's probably many options. So if this isn't working out, like, don't feel like you're screwed, you know. So that's what we get for fire. All right. Water. Cool, clear, refreshing water. Let's take a look at the water signs for the full moon. Watery Doom 16. Okay. Oop. Justice. It means you're gonna die. It doesn't. That's just one of my eternal jokes. So, all right. The Justice card at the root, the Justice card is really about fairness and seeing things exactly how they are. And this is without emotional bias. Now, here, the Three of Wands is long-term growth. So this is like energy that you've been building. It's like a project that's been there for a long time. A genuine expression of who you are on the inside, which shows in the umbilical cord. And this is, I mean, when the 3 shows up, what is really necessary is patience and nurturing and like understanding. I mean, the Three of Wands is like an infant sort of energy, or at least vulnerable like an infant. So yelling at it or giving up on it won't help. And it's just about love and nurturing. With the foundation of the Justice card, and this would basically say that some things have been happening recently that maybe had you looking at this unfairly. So with the full moon, you might be able to see things a little clearer. Now, this is the defensive territorial mask that is turned backwards because the what you're trying to grow can't have it. But what is that mask turned toward? And what do we have basically on the other side? Well, that's interesting. So, for one thing, there's a lot of Major Arcana cards in here, like 3 out of 4. So, there's big energy that's happening um, for the water signs. Now, what the territorial mask, and this actually would be something to try to defend against, is the reverse sun. Now, the sun is openness and shameless truth and total acceptance. The sun reversed is when the two energies might be like oil and water, and maybe they don't necessarily accept each other's truth. So here it's like if you're running into a situation where these two things that kind of need to be together or are together, if they're not really accepting each other at the time, it's like just shift the energy away from that and remember what it is that you're growing. So, on the opposite side of the two energies that don't necessarily blend is the Fool. The Fool is a brand new deal. This is like walking through the portal to the new world, but the Fool is about no fear and no expectations, right? So it looks like even though this energy is around, something has kind of shifted and like a brand new deal has arisen. So, like, don't feel like old patterns are necessarily going to be true. And with the Justice card on the bottom, it's emotional bias that could keep you from seeing all of the opportunities that are there. And we'll pull the higher card out of this. Now, the Two of Swords is essentially about fighting yourself. So if you have felt sort of stuck in this area, um, understand that a lot of the resistance that you've been facing is internal. It has literally been coming from you. So once you stop fighting yourself to a certain degree, then you can look at the rest of the world and see how much resistance is actually coming from that. But yeah, the Two of Swords, it's like it's a struggle within yourself, but rarely when the two shows up do we know that we're fighting ourselves, because it seems like we're fighting another thing, but we're actually not. That other thing is the same creature. So things have changed. Try to be open, and if it feels like maybe long-term projects are being fucked with, it's just saying nurturing, patience, understanding. It's genuine, and it will be fine. So, air. Let's see what we got on the full moon for air. 76 is the word. And the color is stripe. None of that made any sense, but that's what we get here. So, the color is stripe. What's the random number? The color is stripe. Okay, that's fine. So for air, the Knight of Cups, the spiritual seeker, and the Hanged Man. All right. So the root energy is this, like, being called to go beyond your normal boundaries, to have like this emotional or spiritual experience that would be new. Usually the Knight of Cups is answering a call. And here, I mean, I felt this pretty hard in my life, but I'm a person who is used to being called, and I feel like it's the time, and it hasn't been happening. So that would be kind of a hanged man. Now, as I say this to myself, the hanged man hung themselves. So this is saying, like, if you feel stuck or if you feel like nothing is happening, remember that you are the one that put yourself in that position. And you did it because shit was moving too quick and you needed some time to think. So the hanged man can unbind themselves, and they're the only ones that can do it. Now, let's just see what surrounds the hanged man in this being stuck. Well, on one side, I mean, yeah, this makes sense. So, again, we have 3 major arcana cards, but on one side we have the Tower, which is the explosion of a prison. So there's something in your life that had basically been a restriction, and that gets taken away. Now, here, that's what the hangman is kind of pondering. So something blew up, but that thing that blew up was a prison and a restriction. And as they're looking at that, right behind them is the world. And the world is the graduation. It's the last card of tarot, and it basically means that one chapter of your life has been complete, and it's time to think about how far you've come and really understand what you're taking with you into the new section of life. Like, as you go, you're probably not taking all your shit with you, So just try to understand what comes with you, and that you are stronger, and that you have graduated. Like, there is a completion that has happened. And if you feel super stuck, you did that. You did that yourself, and you basically are the only one that can undo it. So, what's left? It is Earth. So let's take a look at the Earth energy for the full moon. Rocky 6. So these Rocky 6 is what we get. And the Ace of Pentacles. Oh, the Ace of Pentacles. This is the card that shows up for people who start their own business. This is like all of your potential and your ideas. And the Ace is the master of taking these ideas and turning them into actual things. So here is all of the fear and anxiety that goes around, putting your actual potential into place. So the 9 is it's about worrying about shit that you either are not doing anything about or you can't do anything about. So let's see what's behind them. That is basically a little bit of bad luck. The reversed Wheel of Fortune. That is kind of the larger clock or the larger current of energy may be working against you. And what is in front of them that they're actually freaking out about is the Eight of Cups reversed. So this is about letting go of old emotional trash, just realizing that you've had it around too long and you're like, fuck this, I'm dropping it and I'm just going to walk away lighter. So this is when you basically go through that process, but the thing is stuck to you. A lot of relationships are like this. When you are like totally over a relationship and you've already let it go, but the person is there when you turn around to walk away. You know, they're in front of you. So all of this sucks. Now let's just see what like a higher purpose. Okay, well that's not very good. So we get the Ten of Swords. And the Ten of Swords is suffering for some shit that you didn't do before, right? It's like the higher purpose would be basically going through some uncomfortable pain because there was something that you didn't want to deal with directly. There's nothing good to say about the 10, except that when the 10 shows up, whatever the situation is that kept you trapped and screwed, you should be able to make sure that it never happens again in the future. Now, let's take a look at this Ace of Pentacles because this is so powerful. Even though this is like a bad luck, tricky situation, let's just see what there is. I guess it's the top one to really help this energy grow. And we get the reversed Seven of Cups. Now, the Seven of Cups is artistic expression. This could be like rose-colored glasses, you know, being very like optimistic and dreamy. And the seven reversed is very nuts and bolts, very practically looking at your situation. So real world, tangible solutions would really help the Ace of Pentacles grow. It's not necessarily a matter of how you feel about it. It's like the creativity isn't the problem. It's kind of logistics, you know, very practical nuts and bolts logistics are kind of the answer to how this energy properly grows. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to collect these and just see if there's something to sort of think about for everybody, regardless of elemental configuration, with this full moon. Pizza face 10 is what we get. And all right, so the thing, wow, and we get the Ace of Pentacles on the bottom. So if there's like a universal thing, the Ace of Pentacles is showing a fucking solid idea, right? And so much potential. And the Nine of Cups shows confusion, but the confusion is because there are so many possibilities. With the Nine, just try to make sure you grab one of the cups and don't freak out about what you will miss when you grab that cup, because if you don't grab it, you will miss them all, right? So don't freak out about how many possibilities there are and just make one of them real. But the Ace of Pentacles showing up as like the common sort of card is really good because this shows that our potential is sort of ready. It's ready to come into the world. And we just have to let it happen without being freaked out about how much we miss when we make one potential come into the world or in a certain way. So that's what we get here. And, feel free to let me know what you think about this format, as opposed to doing 12 individual astrological sign readings. And that's what we get for now. Peace.